Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. It's Superman and Lois time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you once again for joining me here in my studio today, where I'll be breaking down the new and first episode of Superman and Lois. So let's just get right into it. So like all the other CW shows, this one opens up with an intro monologue done by Clark himself. You know, all of the CW shows does this, you know, where they have this voiceover. And to be honest, I really did like it here because the shots that was accompanied by this voiceover were just so beautiful. Like, this show really nails its cinematography. Like, wow. Like, even from the trailer, you just saw beautiful images, beautiful imagery, and it's like the CW has really upped the production value of the show. It looks like movie quality. This show is kind of like Smallville meets Man of Steel, which I'm all down for. And Clark here, he's just monologuing about his origins, you know, how he came to Earth, Krypton exploding, all of that good stuff, being raised by the Kents, you know, and how he became Superman. And there's this really cool, you know, scene where Clark, he mimics the first Action comic appearance he had, you know, where he's just lifting the green car and it just looks so good, and he's wearing, you know, the original costume with the black S and stuff. It's so cool. I was just so glad to see it. It's hands down one of the best live action Superman costumes we've had. I don't know about you guys, but I like my Superman costumes really classic, both in the films and stuff. One of my favorite suits is actually the one from Superman Returns. I'm not really that down for the Man of Steel version. I think it's a little over-designed. I like my suits really simple, and that's why Christopher Reeves and the Superman Return suits are my favorite, because they just tone it down a bit here. And the same with Tyler Hickling's suit. It has this weird texture on it, which kind of looks like denim, but it's not. And I don't know, but like, other than that, I do really like Tyler's modern Superman suit. It's an awesome blend of New 52 and Rebirth, but the classic one we saw at the beginning, that really stole the show for me. Also, just that line of, "Cool suit, thanks, my mom made it." I'm so happy to put that in, because it really shows some humanity to Superman and really makes him seem so likable. Also, this show is really good so far at showing Superman as a likable character. Like, in this episode, we see him do Superman stuff. Like, that's what the DCU had some trouble with Henry Cavill. We don't really see him being like, you know, man's best friend and helping them. Here in this show, on the other hand, he is so likable. We see him go around doing Superman stuff. We see him think creatively with problem solutions, and I'm just all down for that. We really get to see why people look up to Superman and why he is not just a god, but also a human. It's just so good to finally see this on the screen again, because last time we saw this was probably with Smallville, which has also had some big influences on this show, which I will talk about later. Now, just right off the bat, I really love what they're doing with the kids in this show, like the twins. Like, their relationship is really funny, but also really realistic. Jordan playing some Injustice 2 where he plays as Raiden because Superman sucks, and that's also just such a fun scene, especially when your dad is Superman, just being like, yeah, he sucks. And you could just see Clark's reaction. He was like... But yeah, it was just such a great scene. But I really do love the dynamic between these two twins, and I'll talk a little bit about that more as we get into some of the other scenes. But yeah, so far the twins are just so cool. But this kind of sets the premise for the entire show. You know, Clark is really distant from his children and hasn't really been able to see them grow up, because he's Superman and always has to go out and make up lies and excuses for not being there, because he has to go out and save the world. And you know, he has a lot of responsibility. And that line from the trailer with, you know, the world will always need Superman, but right now his family needs him more, that kind of works way better here. Like, it's still a little bit weird to me, but it works so much better with context. Like, the scene overall, it just makes so much more sense, and I'm just really glad that it's not a total like, we are the Flashberry moment again, because oh god, don't get me started on that. But I love how this show goes out to show Superman in a new light. This Superman is trying to be the family man. Like, what would happen if Superman were to take care of a family? And I really love that premise. And it's also fun to see how, like, John is way more accepting of his father not being there, being like, yeah, he's a journalist, you know, he's busy, he's trying to be there. But Jordan, he's like, that's no excuse, which it really isn't. And I just really love that Clark is having trouble reaching out to Jordan, even though he kind of wants to be there for him. But you know, he has his excuses, and we also get a confrontation later in the episode. And that's also kind of what his mother tells him. And even though we don't really see the Kents that much in this episode, as they're both dead, sadly in the episode, we see Martha's funeral and stuff. I do really like these Kents. Like, they seem like really good parents. And I know that's kind of weird to say, since we didn't really get that much time with them, like 10 minutes max. But still, they seem like generally good people. Like, you would get why Clark would become such a good man and such a good Superman by being raised by these people. Because they are good people. They love the town that they live in, and they teach Clark that it's small thing that matters, and you always need to be there for your family. And it's so good to see. this is probably one of the best portrayal of the Kents I've seen in a long time other than Smallville. But yeah, I'm just so happy with the way they portrayed him in this series, and so far I hope we get to see some more flashbacks and stuff, because those were also some really great scenes, especially the funeral scene with Jonathan, which I kind of liked, and also the one with Martha where they like cut back and forth between the two. It was just so cool to see, and I just really loved the editing, just overall filmmaking of the show. It's so good. Like, I'm still not over the cinematography, and I could just talk about that alone for multiple hours. I also really like the idea of Clark not working at the Daily Planet anymore. You know, we get to see him being more of a family guy, you know, taking care of the farm and really getting to know his sons a bit better. You know, because we always see Clark working at the Daily Planet, so this is just, you know, nice with this fresh new take, and I'm really looking forward to where they're going with it. Now, of course, Clark is fired due to Morgan and Edge, you know, taking both over the Daily Planet and a lot of the workstations in Smallville as well. Like, I'm kind of curious to see if he will become like the real big villain of the show, or at least this season, because that's really what they're leading up to, because there's also like some conflicting sides towards it. The people of Smallville believe him to be like this great guy who comes to give them jobs, you know, to help rebuild this little town, and the people of Metropolis just see him as, you know, kind of a dick. You know, he's not really doing anything good for them, which, to be honest, it kind of seems that way also to me, but I can see both sides of the coin. This also becomes the heated argument, you know, that Clark and Lois have with Lana and her husband Kyle, you know, at the dinner after the passing away of Clark's mother Martha. You know, they're just talking about, can they trust Morgan Edge, who is it, and why is it he's good, why is it he's bad, what is his real motivation? And I really do think we'll see that explored throughout the series, and it's something I'm also looking forward to. Now, Lana is of course Clark's first love, as we both see in Smallville, but also in the comics and some of the other Superman media out there. It's just fun and really cool to see that Lana's daughter becomes, you know, Clark's son's, Jordan's first love, you know, his first crush, because that kind of mimics their story, and it's just a cool reference, and I really like it. That's why this show is giving me such Smallville vibes, because that was kind of the you know, the case with the first seasons of Smallville, and it's just so cool. I just love the references to everything in this show. It's just they are referencing every single Superman media, like all the movies, all the TV shows, and it's cool. Like, you'll find an Easter egg for everything in here. Like, there's just so much to talk about. But this does sadly lead to an accident. Jordan is trying to turn on the router at the farm, but sadly these metal pipe gets loose and traps him and John underneath them. But of course Clark is there to save the day, and the boys escape with only a mild concussion, which really surprises them, because, you know, that was some really heavy and big pipes. Like, at least some bones would have been broken, and that's also why these boys start to question. And that's what I love about them, the curiosity. Like, they want to know why they're not more hurt. Like, they have a lot of questions concerning their dad. Why can't they go to the barn? Like, what is it that's actually going on with the family? And it's something, you know, I think everyone would ask questions to if their dad was like Clark, and I just really love the confrontation that happens later in the episode. And I really do like this aspect of Clark, you know, he's just so afraid of losing his family, but in protecting them, and, you know, it's just so cool to see him being so afraid to push them away, which is what he actually does by trying to protect them instead of just, you know, telling them the truth. Lies really do hurt families, and this show really illustrates that well. But these teenagers, being teenagers, they of course doesn't listen to their dad, and they go to the barn the next day to investigate further. And now in the barn they actually go around, you know, looking for something that's extraterrestrial, you know, just looks out of place, and they actually manage, you know, to find, you know, a hidden door in the floor, which they manage to break open, you know, with a crowbar, and then they find Clark's ship, you know, the pod he came in when he was a baby, and it was just so cool to see. Like, the effects and stuff, and like the prop making of this show is also really cool. Like, it's just so, like, it's so movie quality, everything this show. Like, it's really high budget and really high production value. Now, of course, the boys, you know, they are curious to this ship and they want to know what it is, so they move forward to investigate it. Especially Jordan, who ends up putting his hand on it and actually receives a crystal from it, which I think is some type of kryptonite. But yeah, the boys have just had enough of these secrets, and, you know, they just go to confront Clark, like, what the fuck is going on? Tell us the truth, we need to know. And Clark just looks at Lois and is like, yeah, it's time I tell the truth. And so he goes over and explains his entire origin, you know, him arriving in a pod, you know, after Krypton explodes, you know, how it was hard for him to go to school with his powers developing and all that, how he had some great people that took him in, you know, became his mom and dad, you know, the kids and all of that. He just explains everything. But of course, this really does upset the kids, as they feel lied to. They're both happy, sad, and angry, which I totally understand. Especially Jordan, who has been feeling alienated his entire life, and now he finally knows why. So yeah, he's a bit pissed off as his dad. He actually ends up blaming both parents, but Clark steps in and takes control of the situation, being like, yeah, no, I wanted to lie, your mother wanted to tell the truth, so don't only be mad at me, like, put the blame on me. That's essentially what he says. And Clark is right here. It was him. Like, Lois said multiple times that he should tell the kids, but Clark wanted to wait until they were older, but he should probably have told them sooner, like he says himself later in the episode. Now, of course, we do see some more Superman stuff actually going on in the episode with this new villain who we are introduced to in this episode. You know, Superman is going to these nuclear plants, you know, looking around, because the first one he's at and stopped, you know, where he's actually really creative with freezing the lake and, you know, just getting this huge block of ice up, you know, lifting it, and, you know, just using that to cool down the reactor which is breaking down. It was just so cool. I love these creative solutions because Superman, he's not the smartest person on the planet. He's not Batman, but he is just really creative in the way he wants to solve problems, because he would do what, you know, any guy would do if they had superpowers. You know, he would just think outside the box, and that's what I really love about this portrayal of Superman. But we learned that this villain actually has a huge agenda against Superman. We learned that he knows who he is and he knows how to write and speak Kryptonian, so that was kind of cool, but we don't really know the identity. And when I saw this guy in the trailer, I was really curious to find out who he is, because I could not recognize it at all from any comic or something, like his suit or anything. There was no hint, but as we learn later in this episode, we are being tricked. But yeah, let's talk about one of my favorite scenes in this entire episode, you know, the party scene. You know, Jordan, he's invited by Sarah to this bonfire party, you know, they're just all having a great time, drinking all of that stuff, you know, and we can really see, you know, Jordan actually feeling, you know, for once, you know, he's feeling good, you know, he's been invited to some social gathering, and it's really, you know, an improvement in his eyes. But yeah, Jordan goes to have a drink, you know, he just wants to get some beer, but then Sarah comes in and stops him because she doesn't think he should drink when he's on medication, which we learned that Sarah is actually also, so that's really cool, you know, the dynamic between, you know, Sarah and Jordan, it's just so cool. Jordan finally has a person he can relate to, and here we do get some backstory as to who Sarah is and why she is the way she is, you know, with her actually being a really happy kid, you know, when she was younger, but as she hit puberty, problems started to, you know, come around, you know, with her actually taking some of her mother's pills, you know, which really upset her parents, understandably, and they actually wanted her to go to therapy. And this for once is Jordan, you know, realizing. Jordan here, he realizes that she is the only person who might be able to relate to him and his problems with the medication and all of that, you know, having trouble with your parents. And Jordan, he's just overwhelmed with joy. Like, you can really tell that his feelings towards her go stronger. And, you know, he's just so happy that he's found a person he can relate to in such a degree. And he actually goes in for the kiss, which I just thought, my man, yeah, you go. But as we learned, that's not the smartest idea when the person you're kissing has a boyfriend. Yeah. So yeah, Jordan gets himself in quite a lot of trouble, you know, with her boyfriend, as she's kind of pissed off for another guy, you know, kissing his girlfriend, which every guy would be, like, you know, it's just... And of course John comes in here, you know, to save his brother Jordan, telling these guys, you know, to back off, but of course they don't, they want to fight. And to be honest, this fight was quite brutal, so I'm really surprised that DC showed all of it, since, you know, it's so dark, and especially with the CW, because they are, you know, really lighthearted with the fighting. Like, you never see someone, like, get brutally murdered or something like that, but here, like, they get kicked and, you know, just beaten in the face and stuff. Like, it's really realistic, so I'm just really happy that they're taking advantage of those aspects, and it just helps, you know, ground the fight more in realism. But of course, these kids are not your average kids. Jordan and John are superpowered, and Jordan's laser vision kicks in, and he accidentally causes an explosion. But yeah, Clark himself is off fighting this new threat, you know, all over the world and also in space, you know, and he learns about this new threat and his backstory, how he has a long feud with Kryptonians, how his homeworld was destroyed as well, and how he knows all of this about, you know, Clark, and how he knows he's vulnerable to kryptonite. But of course we get his identity, you know, later in the episode. But of course he stabs Clark, you know, when they fight, because he is quite a skilled fighter, and none of Clark's powers really work on his armor, like his heat vision or cold breath, everything, it just fails. So he's able to stab Clark in the heart, and, you know, just lets him fall to his death. But of course, Clark being Superman, he doesn't fall that easily, as, you know, we see him removing the kryptonite from his chest himself, you know, and with the memories, you know, and just the love for his family and all the people around him, he is able to stop midair right before hitting that guy's car, actually, you know, where he's just like, hi, and then he just flies off, you know, to help his sons, as he can hear they are in trouble. And this is where we know Clark, he finds out that it's actually Jordan who has his powers. I do think John has powers as well, they're just not manifesting, and I think we'll see that later this season or later in some other seasons, because John, you know, he is the main Superboy in the comics right now, and it's not Jordan. Jordan is kind of a new character, but I do like it this way, you know, with one having powers before the other. And, you know, John is actually really chill about it, as we see later in the episode. He's like, that just means I'm not cheating with my sports and stuff, so I'm kind of happy. You know, this brother dynamic is one of the best things about this episode, just the whole family dynamic. Like, this relationship between the brothers, it's just so real, especially when, you know, Jordan has to explain to Sarah why it is, like, things happened, you know, the way they happened at the party, you know, and John, he's just like, nope, this is too awkward, this is cringe, I'm going, see you guys later. I just love that because it's real, like, you could really relate to that, and I'm just so happy that this is the way they're going about this relationship in the show. But yeah, of course, this ends up with Clark, you know, and his sons and Lois, you know, moving to Smallville, you know. Clark wants to teach his sons to control their powers a bit better. He wants to be a better family man, you know. And I'm just so curious to see what they'll do with this idea moving forward. And I'm just really hyped for the rest of this season and just the rest of this show's span time. And I really hope we get some more seasons. This really brought, you know, these superhero shows back on the map. And it also has, you know, used some excuses with Crisis on Infinite Earth, you know, because that rewrote a lot of things. So, like, they have a lot of creative control here, which I think is totally useful and really, really good because it really gives the writers an advantage to create their own new story and world for these characters. Speaking of Crisis, that leads me to, you know, the secret villain of this episode. Who is he? In the last scene of this episode, we do see our mystery villain, you know, he's walking up to his ship, and we hear his AI talking about he should upgrade his armor and he should get some more kryptonite if he wants to fight Superman again. And this is where we see him take off his helmet and we see the iconic bald head of Lex Luthor, because this is Lex Luthor. And I was like, what? I was totally expecting, you know, an alien or something like Brainiac or some sort of like that, or maybe an original character. Like, this was just a total mindfuck, but it makes sense. So I'm thinking this is a Lex Luthor, like from what I've been able to gather. This is a Lex Luthor who on his own, like he's not from this universe, he's from an alternate universe where he is the hero and Superman is the bad guy. Like think some Injustice type stuff, you know, he is the hero trying to stop Superman or something like that. And with Oliver rebooting, you know, the multiverse during Crisis on Infinite Earth as the Spectre, he ended up on this Earth, you know, the main Earth. And after landing here, you know, he just saw Superman exist on this Earth, and because he was a villain on his Earth, he wanted to kill him here, you know, take down the enemy, you know, kind of a Batman versus Superman situation, you know, with Lex wanting, you know, to kill Superman because he's such a dangerous god and all of that. And I really think that's the case here. But what do you guys think? I'm actually really curious to hear about your theories, so tell me in the comments below, because I just want, you know, to get a good discussion about this going, because this is such an interesting premise for a villain, you know, this not being the actual Lex Luthor but one from another timeline, if my theory is to be correct. I'm not saying that it is, but I do highly believe it because there's a lot of evidence to support it. But yeah, tell me in the comments below, guys. I would really, really love to hear your theories. But yeah, overall, my first impression of the show is that it's really going to bring the CW back on the map. Like, it's so good. Like, this was one of the best pilots I've ever seen to a show. Overall, not just even a superhero show, but just a show in general. And the cinematography is some of the best I've seen in a TV show. Like, it looks movie quality. Like, the budget and production value. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it's just so good, and I'm still not over it. It's like, these shots, they're so cinematic. It's so beautiful. Also, the story and the premise and just the overall idea of the show, you know, being a family-centered Superman show, I just love. As of now, I'm just really looking forward to the rest of this season, and I can't wait to see what it brings in the future. With that said, I guess that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to press that like button, as I would really appreciate it, as I would really appreciate some support here, since I am a new channel starting to grow, and I would love to invite you along with me on my YouTube journey. If you want to join me, make sure to press subscribe for new content almost every day. That's right, videos are almost on a daily basis, so there's always some new fresh content for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, with that said, remember to stay safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.